Hello Days podcast. My name is Christina and this is my podcast about all of my knitting, stitching and crafting endeavours. I think today I'm going to split my podcast into two parts and show you first the knitting and yarny bits, and then I'll go on to the sewing after, I think, because I've just got a few things to talk about and I don't want to make a really long episode. So we are definitely in spring now, feeling super excited about crafting and making things, and it's just lovely to feel invigorated, and I often feel like that in the spring, summer, when the light changes and suddenly there's more light in the mornings and in the evenings. And so yeah, I'm just going to jump right in and not get distracted. Firstly, I'll show you what I'm wearing. So I did show you this last time. This is my my Forest Berry jacket by Fable Knitwear, and this is it on, which is super cute, and I absolutely love it. It's got the raglan. It's meant to have puff sleeves, so there are increases here in 3 points, which hopefully you can see, which is meant to create a puff sleeve. But I am a little bit broad in the shoulder, you know, so it's not really puffed, but I don't mind. I think they're super cute. There's a tiny little bit of fullness, just like a soft feminine touch, and of course the berries are the best part. I knit it with Pickles, merino tweed yarn in the fresh milk colourway, and I super love it. And now I'm going to take it off because it's super hot. Anyway, I've been wearing this non-stop. It was quite tight when I first made it, and then just because of the yarn, which it does state in the pattern, it does then give a little bit as you wear it. So once I'd worn it just the one time, it just relaxed and grew out. So there we go. As I said, I think I told you last time, when the yarn came, I really did not like it at all. It really did look like kitchen string. But once I'd swatched it and given it a little soak, it just bloomed and went lovely and soft, and now I am super happy with it. So yay. When I did knit it, it was the same front and back. As I've worn it, it has grown, it has moulded to the shape of my body, so it's now a little bit longer in the front and shorter in the back, and that's just because of my shape. As I've just kind of pulled it into position as I'm wearing it, it's just stayed, which is great. And I've made it a little bit longer than I would knit cardigans to go over full dresses, full skirted dresses like the one I'm wearing, because I intended this to be an autumn winter garment, and if I was to wear it with separates, a skirt, a narrow skirt and a top, I'd want that tiny little bit of extra length, just so that when I'm moving you don't see the blouse kind of poking out. Obviously if you were going to put your arms right in the air, then of course it would jump up, but I don't mind that. So yay, first thing, and it's come out so beautifully. I really am happy with it. I had a lot left. I had bought 3 balls. They were all, each of them 100 grams each. So I bought 300 grams, it's a fingering weight yarn, and I only used a couple of meters of the 3rd ball. And that made me like a tiny bit mad, because that is a lot of yarn left over, and I'm not really very good with scrap busting projects. But luckily the designer also created this lovely little, what I would call an ascot scarf. So it is the same Forest Berry. This is the Forest Berry scarf, and you start here increasing up, and then you create this lovely little pocket, which I did on both sides. I don't know if you are meant to do on both sides. I kind of ignored that, but I did the same on both. I have made this before where patterns have said to just do it on the one side, but when you put it on, you then have to make sure you always put it in the right place. And you know, sometimes you put things on in a hurry and then I might not have got it exactly and I'd have had to readjust it. So I thought if I do the same both sides, I could cross it this way or that way and it would be lovely. It's quite, where I've made them before, I've done plain ones and they've been quite narrow on the neck, and this one, because it's that little bit wider, you can just fold it down like a little collar. I'm feeling very animated today. Don't know how that's going to translate on the podcast. But anyway, very jaunty, very adorable. And I thought that over, I thought dark colours. So I thought like a little black turtleneck, that on top would really pop. I wouldn't wear it over this, I don't think, because I just think it would get lost. So anyway, autumn, winter, I think greys are always a lovely colour. Got lots of different little kind of tops in greys just because they go with so many different colours, and that just sets it off nicely. And it's not heavy, it's just so light. It gives you that little bit of warmth without feeling sweltering. So I would definitely wear that, maybe even inside, just as my outfit. And then, so cute. This used hardly any yarn. I've still got loads left. Gosh, it must have been 50 grams. Maybe not even. Maybe I should actually weigh it. That would be handy. But that's the Forest Berry Scarf, again by Fable Knitwear. And she's so lovely. The designer, she makes such beautiful things. You actually knit. Oh, I've got a slipped stitch. No one saw that. You knit one piece to the middle and then the other piece to the middle, and then it just says to seam. So I kitchenered, apparently not very well. Maybe that's not a slip stitch. No, that's not a slip stitch. That's just a very loose stitch. Anyway, I might just go in there and just... Oh, are we going? We're a little bit blurred. That's better. Yeah, I might just go in there. I'll show you what I'm talking about. There's just like a little guy there. But that's fine. I don't know what else to say about it. That was a really nice scrap busting project. When I have made this style of scarf in the past, I have gifted them to a lot of older ladies. I guess that makes it sound really like unfashionable, but I love them. I think they're so cute and jaunty. But you know, older ladies, sometimes they get that little bit of a chill on the neck, and you know, if you're not moving around so much, they make such lovely gifts. And yeah, they were so greatly appreciated. I didn't make them for people. I just happened to be knitting some plain ones, and lots of younger girls said, oh, you know, my grandma would absolutely adore that. You know, would you make one for her? So I did. You know, I didn't charge anything, just they're super quick to make, and yeah, they just loved wearing them, which I think that's so lovely. And they have that definite vintage feel about them. So I don't know if they would really fit in a modern aesthetic. But anyway, yeah, so that is super cute. I haven't worn it yet because the weather has suddenly become just that little bit too warm for me to be wearing kind of neckwear, because I run quite warm in general. Anyway, oh, last week I mentioned I was going to do sweater surgery, cardigan surgery on this little vintage knitwear, and I did. I have now gone back and cut off the rib, and then there was another stripe the same distance, so I went up just to above that stripe, eliminating, gosh, how much? Probably 1.5 inches in length, I would say. And then just re-knitting the rib the same. Luckily, because it you can then try it on, so I knit kind of roughly what I thought, put it on, kind of looked at it on the waist. It came out really nicely. I've knit at a much tighter gauge than the original was on a smaller needle. I think I used a 3mm needle, and you can definitely feel that the cardigan has a lovely fluidity, and then this has a little bit more of a dense springiness to it. And I'm glad about that because it's on the waistline and I like things to be quite fitted on the waist and give that bit of definition. It was much easier than I thought, though a lot messier than I thought. I cut across, just no fear. I just went at it with the scissors. And there was a lot of teeny little bits of yarn which were kind of half stitches, which was very annoying. If I had realised that, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have cut my knitting on my sofa. I would have done it on the dining room table and then maybe laid, I don't know, laid some paper down, maybe. It just meant that for a few days after, even though I'd hoovered, I was finding tiny little worms of yarn. And Nina, my naughty kitty, she was loving that. So maybe that was a good thing after all. Anyway, oh, I did notice that, I didn't notice it at the time, but this one shoulder is a little bit bleached compared with this one. So I completely did not notice that at the time. But that doesn't bother me. I did a burn test as well. I burnt a small piece, and just to check if it balled up into a little hard ball, it would be a synthetic, and if it singed and was a little bit ashy and smelt like burnt hair and skin, which it did, then it is natural fibre. So I do believe that it's 100% wool, which is always nice to know. And I gave it a nice block, which is good because I haven't actually washed it. I've only worn it once or twice, but usually when I buy something second hand I would always wash it. But at the time I bought it, I wasn't a knitter and I wasn't sure how I was meant to care for hand knits, so I just didn't bother. And I assumed the shop had washed it actually, because all of their stuff was just so lovely. And you can tell some vintage shops, they have that musty smell, and other ones, everything is labelled, everything has size measurements, and that was and everything looks pressed beautifully and really is, you know, that was the kind of shop that I got this from. So I didn't feel disgusting not washing it. But anyway, I feel very invigorated now to kind of not worry about cutting my knitting. I think I had that little bit of fear before that I could ruin something, but now, no, I don't feel like I don't know. I think this is a good learning curve for me. She's built that little bit of confidence up, which is really fantastic. Anyway, moving on. So the other big thing I've been dealing with recently, working on, is my my granny stripe blanket, which I don't work on it all the time. You know, when I suddenly get a whole load of minis, I'll hand wind a ball, and then I'll kind of work on it as and when I want to, till the ball's gone, and then it can sit in a drawer for ages until I get more minis. So, oh, these ones were from my advent calendar this year, which was the Lay Family Yarn advent calendar, and I took half of each skein and put it onto here, and I took half, which is then the other 5 grams left, and wound them into little balls for the swap, for the Christmas advent yarn swap, which Lay Family Yarn Kelly arranges. So I'm prepared already for next year. Feeling very smug about that. Anyway, basically, I was super excited. All of this I did recently, and was the advent calendar from Nora George from the previous year, which was 2017. And as I have just gained my confidence with the crochet, my tension has gotten looser and looser and looser, and also it had been hurting my finger when I crocheted a long time and I had a ridge, so I had been consciously making that decision as I was crocheting, saying in my mind to be loosey-goosey. So as I was doing it, I kept on repeating in my mind, loosey-goosey, be loosey-goosey, loosey-goosey, to not hurt your finger, and then you can crochet for longer. Turns out, who knew, there was also crochet gauge as well as knitting gauge, and it started this big and then it was like, and I showed Jason, I was like, oh, look at the lovely blanket I'm making for us to put on our sofa, I'm so proud. Laid it on the bed, it was like a triangle. Not quite a triangle, more like a parallel, no. As well as being bad at geography, I'm also bad at maths. Whatever that shape is, which goes from narrower to bigger, that's what it was. Trapeze? I'm not even gonna guess, because I'm gonna sound like an idiot. There we go. Anyway, I panic blocked this scout. I panic blocked it. As soon as I realised it, cut off my magic ball, ran to the sink in the bathroom. Sorry, wash hand basin. My dad is a plumber and he's very specific about the difference between a wash hand basin in the bathroom and a sink in the kitchen. Because when he did my bathroom, I asked him about the sink and he said, well, if you want a kitchen sink in your bathroom, I'm happy to do it, but usually we put a wash hand basin. So I ran some water into the wash hand basin in the bathroom, dunked it in, and then stretched it out. And I did it double, so when I laid it out, you could see that one side was like a couple of inches wider than the other. So I then stretched that narrower layer, and it worked. We were victorious, it worked. They are now more or less the same. Within about ½ an inch, I would say. So, yay! I have now been making an effort not to say loosey-goosey, and I don't have the saying for tighter, but I just did the next 2 rows, that like fraction tighter, actually quite a lot tighter, just for those 2 rows, just to encourage this quite loose part, just to come in just a little bit. Yeah, and that worked. So I don't know. I think I always knew in the back of my mind crochet had a gauge. It just had not occurred to me kind of how much my gauge would change over time, because how long have I been doing this? 2 years? More? I don't know. A long time. So it's gotten, if I put it on the floor, it goes to my hips. So I feel like that means we're halfway. I'll have to decide that when I have got a little bit higher. There's nothing worse than a blanket that's too short. It's definitely a good width, you know, that can just nicely drape now. I've had a lot of compliments whenever I've posted pictures that I don't have very big holes between my crochet where little fingers and toes can get caught, and I guess that's just the hook size. So that's a 3mm hook that I use. It's the Clover, it's called the Amour, anyway, 3mm. It's a really lovely hook, really lovely and squidgy. I tried just the metal normal old-fashioned ones and that just hurts my hand, so I can crochet for quite a long time with this one, and it's really lovely. There was much more time dedicated to this blanket just then to tell you about it than I had intended, but I think more people are having this problem than I realised. No one has been talking about this. I mean, I had no idea. I was very, very irritated with myself. There we go. All right. It is now that gorgeous size though, you know, when you get a blanket to a particular size that you can properly fold it. Oh. And then when you kind of roll that last little bit, it really starts to look lovely and substantial. So I do have to hide this because Nina really likes it, and she really likes a magic yarn ball, so I kind of have to hide things from her sometimes. Okay, and then before I finished all the knitting, I just wanted to show you just I did a cheeky little purchase with a project in mind. All I have in my stash are single skeins. So I've got some lovely fingering weight single skeins. Not quite sure what I'm going to do with them. A lot of them are very special because they have come from either in a swap I've done with somebody, or from a dyer that I adore, or I've got a couple of the from Yarn Advent Calendars. So Sweet Violet. I've got her two. They're such beautiful. There's a lovely tealy, it's called Spruce. Anyway, there's a lovely one from last year's Advent Calendar, and there's one from the year before from her Yarn Advent Calendar, and I don't know what to do with them, but I'm just saving them. They're like my holy grail, you know? I think everyone has this yarn which you have no plan for, but it's so lovely. It just has to sit nicely. And one day, that perfect project is just going to come. And I'm going to just be like, I have got the yarn. So there it is in my lovely cabinet downstairs, waiting safely. But anyway, let's move on. So I bought this for a project. It's the Honeybop cardigan. It is by Amy Appel of Poison Girls. I knit all her things because they are fabulous. It is a V-neck cardigan, a lovely soft sloping V, button down, and then it's got a little bit of puff sleeve, which may or may not look puffed on me because I have broad shoulders, and I may or may not knit the puff sleeve. There is also a straight sleeved option for those who do not want to look ridiculously schoolgirlish, which I think I may like to look. Anyway, so this is a beautiful yarn. It's coming up a little bit brighter than it is. So what's coming up on screen is the kind of colour I had thought it was, which is kind of the colour of my nail polish and my lipstick, which is Ruby Woo by MAC for colour referencing. But this is more towards a burgundy. I had not anticipated that it would be so dark. However, it is also incredibly beautiful and goes with lots of the autumnally colours that I have in my wardrobe. So I'm super happy with it. I still though need to get a red which looks the colour that this is, because then that's just all spring summer. A red cardigan, that is a basic necessity, as well as a navy one, which I also need. So those are the two slightly boring knits which I need to do. Super simple, fingering weight, navy and red. There we go. So it was a bit of a splurge. I haven't been spending on yarn very much recently, so this was a bit cheeky, but it's Beehive Yarns, Raven Red. I seem to be like shifting myself back further and further. Here we go, Raven Red, Dusty Base, and that is Superwash Merino 80%, Nylon 10% and Cashmere 10%. It's got that lovely plumpness, which also I've found that Herbs Black Regina's yarns have. Yeah, so lovely. This was a sample Amy of Poison Girls had knit herself the cardigan. Oh gosh, it's like focusing with tension today. She had knit herself a cardigan as the sample, as the pictures for her pattern, and it was out of this, which is why I bought it, because she just looked amazing. So I'm super happy with that. Anyway, that will be cast on. I'm going to wait a little while. I'm going to wait maybe a week before I cast this on, because we've got a lot going on for Easter. My hand's covered in felted pen at the moment because I have been making colourful clues for a indoor treasure hunt that I'm doing for my friend's children, and my sister's coming from Australia to visit me, so there's lots of like people going to be about. So I'm going to wait until maybe 2 weeks. I'm waiting until those people are gone, and then I can just calmly start my project. And I'm trying not to rush things and just for the sake of it. feel like I've sped through a lot there. I've also been knitting on socks, although I haven't finished any, so I don't have any to show you. But I've been knitting Christmas socks, which are from the West Yorkshire Spinners. I have their 3 Christmas colours from the last 3 years, and I've been slowly plodding away on those. So I'm going to stop the video now, and then I will come back for the second part, which will all be sewing based. So if you don't sew, you can still watch it. It will just be me rattling on about wardrobe, cute outfit things, or leave it till next time. So it will still be the same number episode, it will just be part 1 and part 2. If you're leaving me now, I'm Christina, this is the Gussets and Go Days podcast. You can find me on Instagram as Gussets and Go Days, on Ravelry as Gussets and Go Days, and you already found my channel. So see you soon, and thanks for watching. Bye guys!